Hello, good evening. Welcome. My name is Obinda. Welcome. I want to share with you a subject which is a bit technical, not maybe not popular, but very much important. I've termed it engineering education, engineering career, and Africa's development. Engineering education, engineering career, and our dear continent development. I will use myself as a typical example. I went to junior secondary school. Before that, I went to primary school. I think I was a good student. And so they made me study science. So physics, chemistry, and mathematics. I remember at Topoko School, when we went in the beginning, people were, putting fear in us. They said that science, maths was very difficult subject. So we should go and look for the other one. So I remember one time I contemplated of going to do biology, but I couldn't see myself drawing and understand understand some of these things. So I came back to the mathematics class, very intense. Everybody was studying. When I was doing that, I don't recall that I had an intention to go further to, study engineering in whatever form. Just part of it, just a secondary education that we're having. Then we seemed to qualify the exam, and we went home, and the way they keep changing all kind of things. So we were at home for 2 years, and they told us to go and write university examination, pray, you know, entrance examination, and then we went to choose some courses. So I happened to have chosen, mechanical engineering, agricultural engineering. My uncle, I happen to have an uncle who studied mechanical engineering, so that was part of me. And then my father also said that being a good student, I should study engineering. And so I chose engineering. They gave me agricultural engineering with residence and mechanical engineering without residence. So I chose agricultural engineering. Did I know what I was doing? Did I understand the industry, what was available after the course? I don't know. I don't know. There should have been a lot of information out there, for people like me with maths, physics, chemistry, hoping to become an engineer, even though it was vague, to have made some kind of intelligent choice and decision. And then we went through that kind of education in university, lab reports, all kind of mathematics, thermodynamics, heat transfer, all kind of things that they told us. I remember we had the most popular at that time, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, geodetic, mechanical, metallurgy, mining engineering, some other kind of engineering that they told us. So we studied them. We studied them. But one thing I can say is that there's a big difference. I don't know what it is now when you are just doing the engineering, but you have no idea what is out there as to where you are going to work, what you are going to work with, what it means. You just happen to have an engineering certificate. So I'm talking about engineering education, maybe the career, and Africa's development, because no country really can develop without this kind of education. No matter what we think about it, I am of the opinion, not because I'm biased, but I'm of the opinion that a developing country must have a lot of people with the sciences, or Not the ones we have now. We have a lot of marketing people, business study people, psychology, sociology, all kind of things. It's because we are not clear of what we want as a country, and we don't even understand what it will take, the human resource development that will take for us to develop as a continent, as a country. We're not sure. And so we are trying. We've not found the puzzle yet. I don't know if they will find it in immediate form. But and so we are trying. We are trying. But without a lot of our people being trained in the sciences and mainly in the engineering, with a primary theoretical training and possibly having an industrial stream to absorb these guys and to develop them, it's going to be very tough for us as a continent to develop in a immediate sense. And so it's very important. It's very important for us as a people to understand these things. At least those who are still in the school studying these kind of engineering courses, they should have a fair idea. Because I think that it's not just studying, people are doing civil engineering, electrical engineering, agricultural engineering. The engineering that they are doing in the school should have direct link to the level of the development of the country, of the continent. We should. We just cannot say that, oh, we want to study what kind of engineering now? Nanotechnology engineering, or those kind of complex things, when we have not covered the basis. Because there should be an infrastructure that is built by the government or by the continent that would absorb all this kind of engineering that we think will help our people. And so when the other people who have developed, when they are talking of how to go to Mars, how to go to space, let's say we have not solved mosquito problem. We have not solved the waste problem, the water, the shelter, the clothes. We have not even gone through the basics of industrialization. And so it's not just the engineering, the fun of it, because I remember when we were in school, some of our lectures, there was one guy who had done aerodynamics engineering in PhD. And I don't think that our country has that infrastructure to absorb, things like that. So when you give this kind of education to majority of your people in terms of engineering, you are just telling them that after you have finished Kwabena University, after you have finished some of these other universities that are doing this kind of engineering, they should go to the other countries and look for job. Because the country may not be ready for this level of engineering. So engineering education is critical, is important, and we must have a lot of our people being trained into that. It applies principles of sciences, to produce products and processes to help our economy to develop. Now, so far, remember when we were in school and we would do internship, what they call attachment. You are in school doing engineering, agricultural engineering. Where would you go to do the internship? Where were the industries? Were they ready for us? I remember I went to this machine shop at Circle area, Mr. Boating, agricultural engineering machine shop or something. Some of the machines there were 70 years old, 100 years, maybe older than the ones that we were using in the lab. Then it shows, it shows that we are not ready. We are not ready. Part of it is because of how education was introduced to us as a country. The kind of education that was introduced to us is not the education that is meant or that was ever meant for us to develop. It was meant for us to speak English. That was it. Even the science education, the engineering education that we eventually introduced, I'm not sure it was really for us to develop from where we were. I think it was just for us to just have some kind of professions that we will call mechanical engineer, civil engineer, electrical engineer, some kind, but not the basis for us to develop as a people. And we still have not found the puzzle. And so, if you were in my position, you are doing engineering, and the thing about it is that, see, when I finished the first degree in engineering, as much as I was confused, I went forward to do MS in engineering as well. So I did MS in process engineering. Process engineering means that you can work in the food industry. Mainly, you can work in the petrochemical industry. You can work in anything that has to do with process. So everywhere that there's a process, they can train you. Even the mining sector, they have process engineers there. Everywhere. So engineering comes in all kind of forms. All kind of forms. There are 1,001 forms of engineering, but the primary ones are the ones that we are doing. Now, we don't have to complicate issues. I don't think we should complicate issues. I think we should just let a lot of our engineers understand where the economy is, where our development is, and what are really needed. For instance, you have people doing computer engineering, and so where is the computer industry in Ghana for us to train these computer engineers to produce the computer parts? Where are the industries? So once you give him that basic 4-year engineering training, beyond that, there should be an industry, or you're not going to have the experts in that field. Even the basic ones, let's say mechanical engineering. And mechanical engineers mainly work in the automobile. They work across board, because mechanical engineering, I think, is the foundation of all engineers and all engineering discipline anyway. But mainly they work with the engines, they work, with the machines, just like agriculture. But where are the industries for our mechanical engineers or for agricultural engineers? Majority of them are sales agents. You go to Toyota, you go to Tractor and Equipment, you go to some of these things. A lot of them are there as sales engineers or service engineers, maintenance engineers. So we are yet to understand. And what are we going to do to even reduce the frustration? This is the thing. The thing is that we need a lot of these guys. And yet the country is yet to open, to accept them into industry that will equip them. Because you normally hear that, oh, we have a lot of engineers, but they are not producing anything. We cannot finish the university here with the kind of training that they give us and be able to produce anything. Not majority of us. Because it's not just the theory. You must also be given the hands-on training and to be able to innovate and produce. So, if you are in college, or if you have a son, you're thinking that they should go and do engineering. You have a daughter, you're thinking they should go and do engineering. Look, if you hope that they will be in a country or work on the continent, I think look at the engineering discipline that has a bit of development in terms of industry beyond the tertiary education. The country may not be ready. Maybe civil engineering is okay now. I think there is a lot of construction, at least. So there is road, there are building, construction going on. Maybe they will have a fair. Agricultural engineering, I don't know, because I don't know how many companies are producing machines. So they will go and work with the machines instead of them being part of the production itself. Mechanical engineers the same. Geodetic, I think they have some fair. Quantity surveyors, maybe I think they have some. So there are disciplines. Software engineering, I don't know how many companies are producing a lot of software engineers. How many companies that a lot of these software engineers can work. Materials, I don't know. It's all the thing is either you are producing them and equipping them to come and develop industries. But what is the difference? Because what are we doing to fill the middle? Because there has to be an industry, existing industry, to train them so that they can go beyond that and think. So myself as example, process engineer, yes, but where is that trained? Nowhere. So we just had to find something to do with engineering. So we happen to start business. Maybe we are using. Maybe in the future we'll be able to set up industries with respect to the kind of engineering that we did strictly, and be able to help the continent to develop. If we are not producing a lot of engineers, our continent is not going to develop. And if you are producing them, and when they finish the BSc, they go to do MBA and work in the banks, We are losing them. So it's a big challenge. Serious countries are looking at that. They are producing a lot of these guys. For instance, if you take China, they are producing a lot in these fields, in the sciences, in the engineering, in the technology, in the mathematics discipline. Why? Because you cannot build industries without giving a lot of your people these bases. We, as a country, we produce engineers, at least the people that we call engineers must finish university. That's what, those are the basic things. What goes into the choices of the courses and who is informing us is trouble. I remember some of our friends were not even happy to be called agricultural engineers. So, you know, agricultural engineers and mechanical engineers, maybe they do a lot of the courses up to the third year, then there's a division. So you go to focus on more on agric mechanization, the environmental engineering, maybe the food. Then the mechanical engineers go to focus on something else. Because of the word agric, they were not proud. So they would rather hide. You have electrical engineers thinking of going to work with VRA, or electronics thinking to go and work with MTN or Vodafone. Those are the basic choices. The rest, where do they go? Mining engineers, maybe they're looking at Anglo Gold or Takwa Mines. So we have to produce them, but the industries are not ready. Our development, we don't know. It's a tough choice. I would go for internship, and sometimes when I'm going, I'm asking myself, so what am I going to do with this course after school? Man must survive. So you're thinking of your country, you're thinking of yourself, you're thinking of, okay, how can I use engineering to develop a career, and possibly that career can help our continent to develop. How? Because the best that we have from this the engineering discipline now, a lot of them are just consultants. So they are writing a lot of papers and analyzing data. That's all. There's not much development in terms of processes and in terms of product. And these things can happen. For instance, if you go to scientific research, something, just write a lot of papers. They do some lab, things they have. But where is the industry? Who is picking these things and producing them and monetizing them, or placing some economic value on them for them to create jobs and industries? So there's schism, there's separation, big one. And yet, engineering is so much important to the development of a country, of a continent. So the average engineering student may not be aware. When he gets the first course in the university, he's very happy. When you meet them, I'm doing civil engineering, I'm doing electrical engineering, very happy, I'm doing computer, and now they're even adding aero something. They have all kind of engineering courses there at at Kwabena University. Very happy. Now, when you get to the final year, you see the reality. So a lot of us will just go and look for visa, or maybe look at going to do MSc. That's it. So we lose them, even though we are producing them, we lose them to industry. Very few percentage will find some kind of industry like Nestle, or maybe the mining companies, or maybe Cadbury. Very few industries are ready for our engineers. The civil maybe may have a better chance, but how many can absorb? How many electrical engineers can Akosombo people absorb, or for Fargo can absorb? So even though we need engineering education, which we so need, because at least it is for me, it is one of the courses that will make people to at least think in terms of solutions, even if they don't happen to develop a career in the engineering field. If you find them work in a bank, I think they will be faster in their thinking. If you find them work even in politics, I think they will be faster in their thinking. So the engineering minds are very much needed. But so far, if you go and look at some of the so-called prominent engineers and the kind of lifestyle they live, you don't want to practice as an engineer. You don't want to. When you go and meet some of them at Ghana, something, something. If you are not bold, you will not go again. You will not go again. So engineering education in our continent is still yet to be really understood in terms of what is being produced in academia, in the universities, and what is really needed in terms of industry and where they link to the development of our continent. So they give you a lot of pride. The thing about our education system is that when you're very good, they give you some of these courses. Those who are very good, they make them to go and do sciences. That's the basic. I don't know if it has changed, but at our time, that was it. The very good ones, they did mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, and they'll be giving engineering courses. They'll be giving pharmacy. They'll be giving medic, something, human biology. Those. So the people that we thought were thinking were the ones who were going to do the maths, the physics, the chemistry in the secondary. And then when they finish, they go to the university. Majority of them will do the sciences, mainly the engineering. And when they finish, very frustrated. So now you go to the bank, you have a lot of engineers. Some of my mates, I can say, are working in the bank. Now, this is a country that needs to develop, but we are not even ready for engineers. And at the same time, you have not also equipped them to start something on their own. They can't, because there's no practical training. Practical training to develop something and build an industry around it is tough for you to, let's say, the physical engineering, let's say engine. If you're working with a machine part or developing, if you're going to develop a machine and build an industry around it, it's not a joke. You need a lot of muscle, you need a lot of strength, you need a lot of business acumen, you need a lot of practical engineering, skill. And the thing is that the 4-year education that they gave us, the lab report were even dabbing. What we mean by dabbing is that you just go and look at what somebody else has done, you copy the same thing. There's not much original thinking in it, in terms of what you believe and what you have done. So you may have finished the 4-year engineering course, but really, just about 6 months quality that we had, and so it's difficult. It's much frustrating. It's much frustrating. Now, where is the way forward? The way forward is that maybe the politics is changing. Maybe the government is thinking, one district, one factory, or this. Maybe there will be hope somewhere. I don't know. But let's assume the worst case scenario for the government. Maybe the government will just behave like the way I was when I just finished school. You should still think of leveraging the engineering education to do something for your life. And don't run away thinking that when you become a professor, when you go and get engineering PhD, because not all of us, because we don't need a lot of PhD engineers. We need a lot of engineers in industry. We need a lot of engineers in business, in creating industry, whatever it is. It's either you're setting up a factory to produce nails, or you're setting up a factory to produce keys, you're setting up a factory to produce maybe cement somewhere. Just think, because the essence of the engineering is to produce some kind of better processes of how things are done, and also maybe to produce a product that is needed in your economy. So look at the structure of the economy, and maybe don't just go through the 4-year education. Don't just go through it. Find somewhere anyhow, even if you go and they don't welcome you, to have first-hand experience in terms of how things are applied in industry. Find it. Maybe it's a sawmill. I remember we did the national service. We did it at some sawmill somewhere in Kumasi. The machines were old. The processes were not defined. The environment was not nice. There were not even qualified engineers to teach us. So it becomes frustrating. So by the time that the guy has finished his national service, he doesn't want anything to do with engineering. He wants to go and do MBA. Because when he looks at his friends working in the bank, he thinks that, at least let me look at the money. But there should be a link. between your university education, engineering. And there should be a part that you develop in terms of the career as an engineer, and possibly think of where the country, the continent is going and what you can do. Because the fact is that you cannot think as the other ones who are in countries where industry is developed, where industry is ready for them. Here, industries that are ready for you are very few. So if they are producing 1,000 engineers, maybe just about 10, 20 will have the opportunity to work in industries that have the standards to train us. So we may not have that. You may not be ready. We are producing, and we still have to produce. And I'm of the opinion that we still have to produce a lot of them, even if you don't have industries for them. We still just have to produce a lot of them, make them ready, make them prepared for the kind of standard of industries that we have. We don't have them, but we still have to produce them because we need those kind of engineers to think and to plan, even if they are not physically involved in industries that are producing products. At least their mind may be able to develop a lot of solutions for us. So we need these kind of engineers. We need them. If you're thinking of a country, if you're thinking of a continent to develop, then it's not so much that, because the percentages as I see it now, if you look at all these private schools around, the private universities around, what are the courses that majority of them are doing? They show that we are not ready as a country to develop. You're not ready. Go to most of these private universities, what are they doing? They're doing marketing, they're doing business studies, they're doing, all kind of courses that they're doing, which they may not be so much equipped with the ability to come out and produce something through industry. Yet the few engineers that we are also producing have no practical industrial experience or opportunity to work in an industry that is even a modern one. It's frustrating, but we still have to produce them. So if you're thinking of your child who has just finished, now there's some kind of they say that the exam is coming, they are going to go to university or something like that. I think those who are doing a lot of the science should be increased, and we should still give them opportunities to pursue courses in that. So the agricultural engineering, the mechanical engineering, the electrical engineering, the civil engineering, all this kind of engineering, the environmental, the geodetic, all this, we should still produce them. There are all kinds of engineering. Okay, there are 1,001 engineers. We have engineers in every field, if you don't know. All kind of, but it depends on the level of development of the economy. We have all kind of engineers. If you take the mining sector, for instance, they can break them to all kind of things in terms of engineering. If you take them, the head, the medical area, 1,001. If you take let's say, the building people, same. If you take the agriculture, same. There are several kinds of engineering under agric. And so it's better we give them the basis. And we see that it is important we produce a lot of engineers. Now, when we produce them, we should also let them understand that the economy may not be ready for their aspirations. And so they should equip themselves to see that they may be the funding engineers that our country are going to produce. And they should be thinking of how the education that they are getting and how they are going to found their own industries. Because the industries may not be there for us. So there's a way that we have to program our people. If you take the paper industry, for instance, there are a lot of opportunities there. If you take the rubber industry, there are. If you take the waste industry, there are. If you take even the car, the machines, there are so many. If you take the computer industry, 1,001. And so we should continue to produce them, and there should be many, but we should also let them understand that the industries are not there for us, so that they will not become frustrated. So you are not training them to come and look for jobs. The jobs may not necessarily be ready to accommodate a lot of these. And so they should be equipped to start from somewhere with their engineering education. And those are the realities. They should be equipped. And they should equip themselves while in school and start to try something. start to think of innovating a product, start to think of coming up with some kind of process. They should start to think. We should, and they should have told us. They should make it. I think that as much as they're giving them, if they give them 50% training on engineering, they should also give them 50% training on industry. So that by the time you finish, you know the level of development of the country, the level of development of the continent. So that you are not just happy to have been trained as an electronic engineer or as a civil engineer or as a mining engineer. Because how many mining companies do we have? Or as a petrochemical engineer, how many petrochemical industries do we have? So it means that just 50% of the technical training you need and another 50% of industry, of entrepreneurship. Because when you come out, then at least maybe if you have 1,000 of them trying something, maybe you get 1% who will start to build some product and who may be able to build industry around this. So engineering education, building a career, and Africa's development. The bitter truth is that we need a lot of our youth, our people to go into the universities to do engineering. That's the bitter truth. We need a lot of them. I think the ratio should be very high. And the thing is that we don't have the industries to train them. We have not. We don't have any industrial infrastructure to absorb the numbers, to give them the practical training and the practical expertise. Then we may have to improvise. So if you happen to have done engineering, you may have to improvise. You may have to improvise. Not many industries are there. How many bioprocess engineers can Nestle take? How many food engineers can a few of these multinational companies take? How many? Do we have nanotechnology industries here or nuclear energy? Do we have nuclear engineers in our country, and where are they going to work? Yet we need them. So we should equip them to understand that these industries, these trainings are needed, but the industries are not there. So you may have to think of starting something. It is frustrating. It is very frustrating. I can count as many as how many of our mates are working in engineering firm. Very few. Very few. Remember, we were just around 30 something agricultural engineers. I don't think we can count more than 6 who are working in direct agricultural industries. They're not there. The industries are not there. Or even if they are there, the technology is weak, the engineering is weak, you will not be happy working there. And yet we've not been trained to also to upgrade and think and innovate. The support is not there. So we still need, if you pick the electrical engineers, same. Where are they working? We have Alcosomo, we have Valco. That's all. Where are they going to work? Or is the solar industry, the wind industry? So it's there, but we need them anyway. We need to produce them, and we need to tell them that we may have to go through industrial revolution, and we may need them to think like that. This is the status of the development of our country, of our continent, and you may have to be tough to start something with the basic engineering education that you have had. Or our continent will struggle. The disadvantage is that the foundation of engineering education was not designed for our development. I don't think it was. Largely, it was designed so that you find a place to work. And if you happen to get to secondary school to teach mathematics, that is it. And so there are so many kinds of engineering disciplines, but you have to look at those that the economy is ready. Unless you are specially gifted and you know what you want to do with your life and you know what you can pattern. Other than that, then if you are thinking of going to the university to look at engineering courses, think of the engineering courses that are very much close to the level of our development as a country. So you'll be looking at maybe the agricultural engineering, the geodetic engineering, maybe the computer engineering. I don't know how many computer industries do we have anyway. The software engineering, I don't know how many software companies we have here and how many of them we are employing. I don't know. And so almost every discipline of engineering, you just have a very few percentages of percentage of the people we are training in those discipline who will be able to get direct job, standard job. The rest would have to think of improvising something in that industry if you do so wish to work there. And I think they should be, because then we will have people trying to do something to develop the country. Now, the thing is that there's not much you can do if the country is not developed, if the country is not ready to tap these disciplines. So it's frustrating. So you meet chemical engineers who are working in a bank. You meet chemical engineers who are just sales agents. You meet civil engineers who are, where are they working? We don't know. You meet mechanical engineers who are selling lift and air conditions. You meet agricultural engineers who are selling tractor parts. That's all. You see that you are in the sales or you are in the maintenance. It's frustrating. It's not good. But don't give up. Don't give up. If you have real understanding of the situation, I think that you may be able to position yourself well to do something with your life. And every one of the basic engineering disciplines are needed here. So when they are going into genetic engineering and all, don't just follow the how modern the name sounds. Look at the engineering that you think the country is ready to at least to lift with. Look at that, because mainly after the first degree, most all of you are going to, because if you pick a typical industry, for instance, if you pick, let's say, cocoa processing industry, or a company that is producing chocolate, for instance, you will have all kinds of engineers to work there. You have mechanical engineers to work there, electrical engineers can work there. You have maybe I don't know which other engineers, maybe biotechnology engineering or something. So it doesn't really matter at when you are in school. Don't feel like you're better than the other people doing what kind of engineering, because when you finish and you come to industry, all kind of departments are there, and they may have all kind of engineers there. But you look and choose the ones that you think the country is ready. I think we have oil people now in our country, so look at that. Look at maybe petroleum engineering or something like that. It's joke with foreigners anyway. And maybe look at agricultural engineering, look at civil engineering. We have a lot of construction work to do. Waste management is an issue, but I don't know how many waste companies that we have. The waste companies that we have, they are just collecting the waste and dumping them. They are not doing anything in between. So how many can they absorb? These are all critical situations that we have to look. But we still need to produce a lot of engineers anyway. Even though industry may not be ready, but we still have to produce them. And you don't have to run away. You may go and look for work experience, but you still have to look at how this kind of education that you have had will have some kind of impact on the development of our continent. Because the major problem is that our continent must develop. So we cannot produce all these guys, and all that they do is that they move away. Now they are even looking at railways industry. At least the government now is trying to build new rail lines, which will be good for you. So maybe mechanical engineers will be there, and they may end up becoming railway engineers or something. I don't know. So there are so many kind of engineers that you can get into, especially when you start to practice. But get the ones that I think are more linked to the existing industry, the capacity that you think the country is ready to pick, and be ready to adapt, and to sometimes be daring to even start something on your own with the kind of engineering that you have done. So these are the conditions that you must think. Maybe an agric engineer should be thinking of trying to have a tractor assembling plant or irrigation equipment, things like that, and see what will happen. So my name is Kwabena. I am talking about something that is not nice. It's engineering education. And when you go to the universities now, very, people are very happy to say that they are engineers, but they don't know what is awaiting them after the 4 year education. Industry may not be ready for all of you. Very few of you will get proper work in, some of you, a lot of you find yourself going to teach mathematics, physics, chemistry in the secondary schools with your engineering degree. Some of you will find yourself working for AMA as waste engineer, and you just be sitting at the office signing document. That's all. No practical experience. Some of you may be working with AESL as quantity surveyors. There will be so many engineers before you. These are the realities, because at the economy, they're not structuring for industry, and when there are no industries, there are no prospects for the engineers that we are producing. Yet we need engineers for the industries and for the development of our country. So you would want to look at not just study the engineering, but also looking at industry and studying about industry, so that when you are through with the so-called engineering that they are giving us, you may not find yourself being frustrated with engineering education, because a lot of people get themselves frustrated with a lot of engineering education. I happen to have done the first one. I didn't know what to do with it, and I went to do the second one, the MSc engineering. I didn't know what to do with it. Then I started business in all kind of areas. Yet it helped in terms of analytical thinking, in terms of solution, and maybe in the business that we are doing it helped. But there should have been industry that people like us would easily want to work in, get proper industrial experience. And if you wanted to even start businesses in those areas, it would be that easy for us to start businesses in those areas. But there was not. How many industries? How many cocoa processing industries? How many industries are making, uh, you know, food, preparing food, food production, or food engineering companies? Process engineers. I don't know how many we have. We are importing. So that's the level of economy. And even if you pick the other ones, electrical engineers, they are just maintenance engineers. There's not much happening. We are not in the production. We are in the maintenance of the old machines that they brought. So these are all realities. But there's hope. Things will improve. Things will change. And possibly you may be the generation that will change this. So don't restrict yourself so much to just the engineering education that you're having in school. Learn how to learn industry. And no matter anywhere that you can get practical experience, go. Go. If you're in school and you find yourself, even if it's selling of machine parts, or spare parts, whatever, go and work there. There's a lot that you can learn from there. But the thing is that most of us didn't have clarity in terms of what we wanted to do with the engineering training or the engineering education or the engineering profession. We didn't have. Most of us didn't have, and that's the problem. So you may want to define yourself and say that I want to be in this kind of engineering for this while, and I want to learn the trade. And the moment you decide to find where you want to be, you may by all means find an industry, even if it's not up to standard industry, where you can learn basics of the things that they're teaching you in school. And maybe from there, you may be able to start to think of creating products out of that, or creating businesses out of that, or creating processes out of that. So even though the industries may not be there, the industries may not be as many as we wish they could, we still have to produce a lot of engineers. But anywhere that you can get practical experience, go and get. Even if it's, let's say you are training as an environmental engineer or waste engineer in the 4 year course that you're doing. Even though when you go to work with, say, Zulayo, they may not be processing the waste, they may not be doing a lot of things. If you look at the waste hierarchy, they may just be doing the basic, which is let's collect the waste, go and dump it somewhere, take a bulldozer, move over it, and then that's it. No problem. Still go and learn. with the basic engineering education that you have, if you are directional, if you're focused, you may be able to come out and maybe establish a waste company that will be able to turn the waste into another thing. Or maybe you work in a petrol, maybe you go to work with Tor, for instance. They may not be doing much, but the few things that they're doing, you may be seeing some things. And maybe somewhere you will start to develop your own processes. Maybe somewhere you may start to develop your own product. Maybe, because that's the thinking that we have to give our engineers, that you cannot compare yourself with countries that have developed a lot of industries. We will need your level, your generation, to create these industries. And that's the thinking that you have to have. You cannot just be bringing them and fixing them. You would have to produce engineers who will start to produce the parts and possibly start something in their sitting room somewhere. Start to produce something. That's the kind of engineering students or the kind of engineering professions that we may have to produce now. And it starts with the conviction. It starts with awareness that this is how it is. So when you finish, you did civil engineering, nobody's employing you. Go and start a block factory somewhere. Go and start something with the little that you know. Maybe start to produce models. Maybe start to try with something. Whatever that you can. The moment you start with an awareness, you will know that the industry, there are not, because they are producing maybe the last 10 years, we have produced maybe 100,000 civil engineers, or 200,000 civil engineers. I don't know, only from tech or something like that. Maybe. Let's say 30% run away. The 70% are still here. Let's say another 10% went into government jobs or went into, start a church or something. You still have 50% looking for somewhere to work. But if you told them that the industries may not be that big, so start to think on your feet, we may have people starting to see the reality, because you don't have to finish the engineering education and be thinking that industry should be there. They may not be there. So if you train as an agric engineer, for instance, if you train as a process engineer, but if you're in the school now, start to look for a place to go and do attachment. Whether it's the machine part, whether it's the waste part, whether it's the processing part, the food processing part, find somewhere. It could be somebody who's making yogurt. It could be somebody who's making pineapple juice. Even just something that is, maybe just a grinding machine somewhere or milling machine somewhere. Just go and get first-hand experience as to how things are done. Maybe it could be just a mechanic shop where they are repairing the bulldozer, they are repairing the milling machine, they're repairing the combine harvester. Just go and get familiar with these machines. I know that by the time that you finish school, industry may not be ready. So you are thinking of, what can I do? What can I innovate? What can I improvise? And what business can I start out of this? You should be thinking of that, or you'll be frustrated. You'll be frustrated. And then you will say that you don't want anything to do with engineering again, that you want to become a banker, or you want to become, like my friend, you want to become a lawyer or something. Because that's the reality. When the options are not there, you just have to do something. But we need you to help us to grow our continent. We need you with engineering mind to help us to grow our industries and to help us to develop. That's the essence of us producing a lot of you like that. Not everyone can start a business, that we know, but at least everyone can start to produce a product. So it's all information. And the more information that you have, the more awareness you have of the situation, the better position that you'll be to start something. When we were in that situation, when we were in that stage, when we were there, there's not much information that they gave us, so we didn't have much to fight with. But now, some of us may have to tell you the realities out there and where better position you can be more than us, because if they say that to be forewarned is to, whatever, to be equipped or something. So once you are giving proper information as to what to expect there, then you may be able to train yourself well in school and to develop yourself well and to know that this is what is in front of me. This is what is in front of me. You may be thinking of how you can connect and partner with some of your friends and start to do something. Don't wait after the national service and start to look for a job. Unfortunately, they may not be there. They may not be there. They may not be there. And if they are not there, the next thing that could be there will be scholarship to go to Germany, or scholarship to go to Russia, scholarship to go to Cuba. Then you go there, you complicate your life. So think through, don't just be in haste. Think through. Think through. If you so love the engineering, there are a lot of prospects that are there. There are a lot of prospects that are there, but a lot of them you may have to create them yourself. You have to develop them yourself. Sometimes you can look at maybe a product in your line and start to trade in that product. Maybe somebody is manufacturing them. And when you have built a market base, maybe along the line you'll start to think of how you can manufacture that yourself with your basic engineering training that they have given you. For industry, you don't need more than the BSc to work as an engineer. Maybe you can go, because the thing is that there's pressure on us to go and further and further and further like the way they are doing. So you go and do your MSc, go and do your PhD, and you may not even be cut for academia. So it's something. So define what you want. Clarify your thought. Are you cut for academia? You're cut for industry? You're cut for politics? You want to work with the government agencies as an engineer? Wherever that you want to work. But be ready to know that industries are not that many for engineers. Whether it's agricultural engineer, whether it's mechanical engineer, whether it's civil engineering, there's electronic engineering, and all the other categories of engineering that they have. It's because engineers come in all kind of forms, So it's up to you. But train yourself. It's possible that you may be able to come out with something that is novel, that is full of novelty, and something that maybe you can, form a whole industry around, and you may start to employ people in that. So there are all forms of engineering, but the basic ones that they are giving us, start to become an expert in that. And build industries. Look at waste management, look at farming, look at even if you can produce any machine part, whatever that you think. Maybe you can partner with a blacksmith somewhere, you can partner with a carpenter, you can partner with an electrician, start to build something. You may not have all it takes, but there are people with all kind of technical skills who are also doing things that are engineering. They may just be technical people, but they know what to do. And with your so-called engineering education, maybe you may be able to better products and start to look to build a market for it. You don't know anywhere that these things can take you. You may be a software engineer, you may be a computer engineer. There are things that you can do. So condition yourself that your engineering education is needed for the development of a continent, the development of a country. So don't just throw it away. After 4 years, you see them throwing everything away and going to look for another thing to study. So what was the point of us sending all of you to school and the government spending on you? And then you come out because you are not equipped with information, because the industry was not ready for you, and because we have to leave, then we just make any decision. And then we lose all these guys who we are training as engineers. Then we are back to square one. So there's confusion. I'm not the president. I'm just an individual. But I think that when those of us in this situation get information, then we can make some quality and better choices that will help us. Because you have to understand all the things that you're going to meet. I remember when I was doing one of those internships, I went to Ministry of Food and Agriculture. They have an agricultural engineering department. Whenever I went there, I was very sad. Confused and sad. And I couldn't see myself working in those areas. It's frustrating. But at least I got first an understanding of what lied ahead of me. So if I wanted to work in let's say in an irrigation firm, I should understand that, because if you go to the ministries and you go there, you could be sitting behind your desk for years with no practical experience as an irrigation engineer, or as a waste engineer, or as a machine engineer or plant engineer. Not much. Sometimes when you even get the private industries, the machines are very old. But don't worry about those. Look at how you can get practical experience, and maybe look at how you can build your own industry. And it's possible. Just know that it's possible. It's possible. And it's highly possible. It's just the conditioning. So just know that in our industry, in our economy, when you're doing any of this engineering, very few will get anywhere to work. The rest must create. The rest must innovate. The rest must do something. We must do it. And be fair, and be resolute, and be focused. Because the people who build serious engineers, as a matter of fact, entrepreneurial engineers are much more tougher. Very tough. And more creative, and more solution oriented. They're able to solve problems faster. And they are able to come out with products and better services than the others. Yes, of course, you need other things to learn, but you come with a lot of training, even with the 4-year training that you had from one of those universities. So whether it's software engineering that you're doing, or computer engineering that you're doing, electrical engineering, electronics, or agricultural engineering, waste, or civil, there are things that you can do. So don't be frustrated. Don't be. And if you are finished and all these years you're still not finding any place to work, if you can take an internship, no matter how many years you are finished, if you're not trained and equipped, there's not much. Maybe you opted to go and teach somewhere, and after this while you still feel like you want to practice as an engineer, give it a shot. You never know. It's maybe, even if they won't pay you, go and get practical experience. Look at, identify an industry that you think you're passionate about, and maybe go there as part-time. Tell them you want to learn, and after a while you can see what you can do and what products that you can build. And if you're not even a typical business person, you may be able to partner with somebody and start something, because that's what we need a lot of engineering guys to think about. Partnering with people with business experience, or starting something on their own, because the industries are not there. If you look at any production, tell me any production industry, look through your room, how many things that you think are being produced in our country? Not much. Which means we are the ones to do them. We are the ones to do them. We are the ones to do them. So thank you very much for watching. We've talked about engineering education, engineering career, and the development of our continent. And the fact is that you have to develop yourself to take up the challenge. You have to develop yourself to take up the challenge. Develop yourself to take up the challenge. It's possible. It's possible. It's highly possible. And nobody is responsible. We are responsible. And you don't owe, nobody owes you anything, and you don't owe anybody any explanation. Just do something and be glad. Whatever engineering that you're doing, there are so many opportunities that you can set for yourself. Don't rush and go and just change it like that. So thank you for watching.